Hello, my name is Christal Campbell, and I'm the Stormwater Education Coordinator for Dane County Land and Water Resources Department and the Madison Area Municipal Stormwater Partnership, also known as MAMSWAP. MAMSWAP is a group of municipalities in Dane County that all work on various efforts to reduce stormwater runoff and improve the quality of the runoff that does end up in our lakes, rivers, and streams. My job is to work with MAMSWAP in Dane County to develop and implement stormwater programs to both educate and reduce barriers to taking action to keep our local waters clean. Here's an example of one of the resources we created to educate people across Dane County about stormwater pollution and solutions.
In natural systems, when it rains, most of this water soaks into the ground, where it travels very slowly to a nearby waterway. Hard surfaces, such as roofs, roads, and parking lots, can prevent this water from soaking in, and instead it runs off over the land. We call this stormwater runoff. Stormwater runoff can carry leaves, trash, soil, fertilizer, oils, and other pollution as it moves across the landscape. In Dane County, stormwater runoff often travels through storm sewers or ditches to local waterways without being cleaned. This is different from the water used inside your house that travels through the sanitary sewer system to a treatment facility where it is cleaned before being released back into local waterways. The good news is that there are simple actions we can take on land to protect our lakes, rivers, and streams. Keep rain where it lands and make sure only rain goes down the storm drain. For more information on how you can have a ripple effect on our waters, visit www.ripple-effects.com.
As you just learned, all the rainwater that falls on land needs to go somewhere. It'll either soak into the ground or run off into storm drains and ditches and make its way to our lakes, rivers, and streams. Our actions on land have a huge impact on the water around us. Whether we live 10 feet or 10 miles from the water, it's all connected. So this is our Rainfall Simulator. It's a tool we often use in presentations and at events to show how land use impacts water quality. I'll go through the samples we have here pretty quickly. This is a permeable pavement sample, so it's pavement that allows, it comes in all forms, shapes, and sizes. It can be concrete or asphalt, but it's pavement that actually has holes and allows water to infiltrate. This is just your kind of traditional street pavement asphalt. These are the identical sample, tilled garden sample or a tilled field sample. One just has a little bit of mulch on top, this one. And then we have 4 various lawn samples. This first one is a lawn that was infested with crabgrass. The second one is from an urban, fairly compacted lawn. It has kind of thin vegetation or thin grass on top. There's not, it's not completely covered. And then in contrast to that one, this is on really great soil and is really dense vegetation. It has, grasses. It also, has what people deem as weeds and some clover in there as well. There's been no fertilizer or any chemical inputs on this one used. And then this is a lawn that started with pretty poor soils, and in order to improve those soils, compost has been applied twice a year, a thin layer of compost in the spring and the fall for several years, and it really, really improved the soil in this lawn. And it has a lot of dense vegetation on top. There's clover and grasses and some I guess weeds, if some people like to call them, but a lot of dense vegetation on here, and hasn't had any chemical inputs or fertilizers, pesticides. And then our last sample is a prairie sample or a natural area sample, and it was taken just right behind me at the Lucier Heritage Center right here. So before I get started, before we make it rain, I'm gonna just use my sprinkles a little bit. These are gonna simulate salt in the winter that we often put on pavement. So I'm gonna put a few sprinkles on there. I'm also gonna put some sprinkles on our lawn just to simulate any kind of chemical input or fertilizer, pesticides, as some people use them. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and make it rain. We're gonna pour the same amount of water in each sample, and one of two things will happen. It will either run off into the container right out in front, or this water will soak in through the sample into the container on the bottom. There's little holes on this top tray. So we're just simulating a rainfall. Okay, so let's kind of take a look at the results right away. Some things to look for are the clarity of the water and then also the quantity of the water that's in these containers on the front. So it's not really surprising, the permeable pavement, everything soaked in. That's what it's designed to do, is to infiltrate all that water. Absolutely no runoff. In comparison to the pavement, which everything ran off there, and it has a nice pink tinge to show that those sprinkles ran off with the water, which is often the case in pavement. Rain is very powerful, and it carries anything in its path with it, which it'll carry to our lakes, rivers, and streams. And then the tilled garden samples. We have the one that's uncovered. You can see there's a lot more runoff here. It's a lot cloudier. There's a lot more soil that was dislodged. When the rain particles hit that soil, if it's not protected, it dislodges that soil, and that soil erodes away. Soil is something we don't want going in down our storm drains or into our lakes, rivers, and streams. It contains a lot of phosphorus, and phosphorus fuels algae growth. So the mulch covered one, a lot less runoff, and it's also clear. So that mulch just really protects that soil. Now we go on to our lawn samples, and we have the crabgrass infested lawn. There's a ton of runoff. The crabgrass, what happens is it grows and then it dies off in the fall, and you have all these bare spots. So now we have a lot of bare soil. There's some soil on the bottom. Not much vegetation to kind of keep that water in place. So lots of runoff there, and again, the pink tinge to show that that fertilizer didn't all stay in one spot either. Compacted lawn has a little bit less, quite a bit less runoff than the crabgrass infested lawn, but still some runoff. And again, it's a fairly compacted lawn, so a lot of that rainwater will just flow off. And there's not much vegetation on top. It's not a dense lawn. And then it also has like a little pink tinge. Now you can kind of compare it to this other lawn where we have a lot of great dense vegetation on top. It's on great soils, so we've got great infiltration. So we have some runoff, but not much. And there's really no pink on there. It's very, very clear. And then you compare it to the compost applied lawn. A lot of dense vegetation there that's capturing that water. It's helping it to infiltrate. We have just a teensy bit of runoff here, but not much, so that's a great option. And then we compare it to the prairie natural area. Again, just kind of a few drops of water in the prairie natural area. The majority of that water is soaking in, and that's due to the native plants that are in prairies and natural areas, have deep root systems, and kind of acts like a sponge.
I hope the Rainfall Simulator helped demonstrate the connection between land use and water quality. Fortunately, by taking simple actions that keep rain where it lands and making sure that only rain goes down the storm drain, we can have a huge impact on the quality of our lakes, rivers, and streams here in Dane County. Planting rain gardens or native gardens and directing downspouts there rather than to your driveway is a great way to help water soak into the ground and prevent runoff. Maintaining a lawn with dense vegetation and no bare spots helps too. And a dense lawn doesn't just mean grass, it could be a mix of grass, clover, even some dandelions as you can see in the picture. The goal is to have lots of vegetation that slows water and allows it to soak in. Rain barrels are a great tool to capture roof runoff to water plants or to just release into your lawn at a later time when it can slowly soak in. There are also actions we can take to make sure that the water that does run off into our storm drains is as clean as possible. Cover disturbed soil with straw or mulch to keep soil in its place, as we saw in the demonstration. Use the right amount of salt in the winter for safety and sweep up any excess after a storm. Pick up litter and trash so it doesn't get carried away and wash down the storm drain or clog the storm drain. Dispose of household hazardous waste properly, especially those stored in the garage, to prevent spills from happening. Our Clean Sweep program here in Dane County is a great resource. You can take a carload of household hazardous waste to the facility near the landfill for only $10. Pick up after pets, as pet waste contains a lot of bacteria that can wash into our waters. Lastly, remove leaves and grass from the streets and sidewalks before the rain. When water runs through leaves in the street curb on its way to the storm drain, it creates a phosphorus-rich leaf tea that can lead to algal blooms. Dane County and MAPSTOP have lots of programs and resources to make it as easy as possible to take action and protect our waters. Plant Dane encourages residents and groups to incorporate native plantings and rain gardens into their landscape. This program includes access to low-cost native plants, a rain garden workshop, and a free native plant grant program for schools and local groups. Applications for that program are due in February and July. We also have our Storm Drain Mural program that schools and other organizations can apply for in December to design and help paint a local storm drain mural with Dane Arts Mural Arts. As part of our Leaf-Free Streets for Clean Waters campaign, we educate and encourage residents to remove street leaves before the rain using tools like our text and email rain alerts. Lastly, we're part of a partnership called Wisconsin Saltwise that works to reduce salt pollution to our waters. Saltwise hosts certification trainings for winter salt applicators and educates both residents and businesses on low salt practices that keep our surfaces safe in the winter. I invite you to check out some of our programs and join us. Together, our simple actions can have a ripple effect on our waters. Thank you.